Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Joey Harris, and we are broadcasting from makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia. Follow the show on Twitter and Blue Sky at Cup of Joe Pod. Email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. Support the show at paypal.me/cupofjoepod. I am also on Cash App and Venmo at the Joey Harris. If you would like to give just a couple of bucks that way, I'd be very appreciative. And of course, patreon.com/babykangaroomedia. For just $5 a month, you get bonus episodes of the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. You get the Joey Harris Super Show. You get the Green Room. You get the Book Club Baristas and so much more. Again, just $5 a month for hours of extra content. And if you sign up for free, you also get some free shows. You get a Mug Life Monthly newsletter that I do. You get my notes for the Cup of Joe on Patreon. You get the Mug Life episodes, which is a short episode with just me talking about different things that are on my mind. All of that for free, but just you get everything and almost 60 pieces of content on there now for just $5 a month. And folks, we are back again, back at it, busy, just having one day after another of being busy, and my allergies are starting to bother me because we're in that season as I record this. It's the last day of September. A quick turnaround because it'll come out on the 2nd of October, but that's all right. We will get things done. As today we look at Clash of the Champions 31 from WCW. Clash 31 was shown on TBS on August the 6th, 1995 from the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, Florida. We start out with our intro. Michael Buffer welcomes us to the Clash. That's different. He introduces the first match. Ming and Kurosawa with Colonel Robert Parker versus Sting and Hawk. Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan will call the action. The two teams start to brawl as soon as the faces get into the ring. The heels bail out and regroup. Kurosawa and Hawk start. Hawk gets a double leg to take Kurosawa out. Sting tagged in. He runs Kurosawa into the corner. Sting hits a suplex. Hawk tagged back in, Kurosawa with a clothesline, and Ming tagged in, back and forth. Hawk tries to get Ming down, Kurosawa tagged in, he gets Hawk out and hits a modified Samoan drop on the mat. All four again start to brawl briefly. Hawk comes back with a clothesline, they trade shots. Ming tagged in and Hawk hits a swinging net breaker. Kurosawa in and Hawk hits a splash and a powerbomb. Both Sting and Ming come in and mix it up. Stinger splash to Ming, double clothesline to Kurosawa, followed by the Doomsday device to get the pin. Kurosawa attacks Hawk's arm after the match. Medics come out to check on Hawk. Tony and Bobby talk about Hulk Hogan taking on the Dungeon of Doom and highlights of Hogan taking on Kamala from the main event. Mean Gene Okerlund talks to Robert Parker in the stud stable. He says Harlem Heat are standing in their way and that Sherry better not get involved. Diamond Dallas Page with the Diamond Doll versus Alex Wright. The crowd likes Wright. The bell rings and they lock up. Drive to the corner and break. Wright with a quick roll up for a 2 count. Wright with 2 drop kicks to drive DDP outside. Wright with a suicide dive onto Page on the outside. Back in, Page gets a wrist lock on. Wright reverses into an armbar and into another drop kick. Wright with a crossbody for a 2 count. Back and forth. Wright with another crossbody for a 2 count. Page comes back and gets an inverted backbreaker. He hits a swinging net breaker and gets a 2 count. He chokes Wright on the second rope. Wright gets a backslide for a 2 count. Page misses a corner charge when Wright moves. Wright with a series of forearms and back elbows. Wright hits a high knee for a 2 count. Wright hits a missile drop kick for another 2 count. Wright with corner mount punches. Page comes back. Wright with a series of 2 counts. Page goes out and avoids a Wright suicide dive. He throws Wright in and gets the pin. Mean Gene talks to Ric Flair and Arn Anderson. Anderson says he is here to wear Vader out, and Flair is here to finish Vader off. WCW World Television Championship match. The Renegade with Jimmy Hart versus Paul Orndorff. Orndorff out first looking focused. Renegade and Hart come out and get a better ovation than I expected. Orndorff attacks Renegade as soon as he gets in the ring. Renegade comes back and Orndorff rolls outside. He hits a belly-to-back suplex on Renegade. Orndorff stomps Renegade. Orndorff with a rear chinlock. Hits Renegade with a series of knees. Heenan subtly puts the assassin down on commentary, and it is hilarious. Orndorff throws Renegade out of the ring. He keeps Renegade from getting in. He guillotines Renegade on the top rope. Orndorff argues with referee Nick Patrick. Renegade hits a crossbody to get the pin. Mean Gene talks to Vader. Vader says Ric Flair and Arn Anderson can't back up their talk. He says he has no fear. Mean Gene then hypes up Fall Brawl, a feature on what led up to the mixed tag match. The Stud Stable, Bunkhouse Buck and Dick Slater and Colonel Robert Parker versus Harlem Heat, Booker T and Stevie Ray, and Sister Sherry. Sherry goes after Parker when she gets into the ring. It takes a while to get started. Harlem Heat have to put Sherry in their corner. Slater and Stevie start. Stevie with the early advantage. Stevie with a scoop slam. Buck tagged in. Booker also tagged in. Booker with a corner whip. Back and forth. A Booker drop kick knocks Buck out of the ring. He gets back in and Booker hits a flying forearm. Slater and Stevie tagged in and traded blows. Stevie choked Slater in the corner with a boot. Booker tagged in and got guillotined on the top rope. Slater gets a 2 count. Buck tagged in and hit Booker. Buck with a bear hug. Slater tagged in and the Stud Stable double teamed Booker. Parker tagged in. Harlem Heat with the double suplex and Sherry tagged in. She hits a crossbody for a 2 count. She drops an elbow on Parker. She then does a leg drop on Parker. She misses a splash. She gets knocked out. She jumps on Parker, kissing him, and gets the pin. Parker tries to leave, but Sherry jumps on him and starts ripping his clothes off. Mean Gene talks to Jimmy Hart and Hulk Hogan. They talk about Hogan entering the Dungeon of Doom. Gene then talks about WCW donating $1 from every buy of Fall Brawl to MDA. They then would simply raise the price of the pay-per-view by $1. Gene had MDA Goodwill Ambassador Tomas Diaz and Randy Savage with him. We then get a feature on Randy Savage and show Hulk Hogan entering the Dungeon of Doom. And I am offended as a wrestling fan. Hogan says to bring all of the Dungeon of Doom and the Giant to him. Giant and the rest appear and attack Hogan. Vader comes in and saves Hogan. Tony and Bobby talk about what we just saw. We then get a Fall Brawl ad. And folks, that is just something else, isn't it? You promise to give $1 of every pay-per-view to MDA, then you raise the price of the pay-per-view by $1. I guess that's why they call it the wrestling business, right? Handicap match, Ric Flair and Arn Anderson versus Vader. Flair and Anderson out first. Vader looks intense when he comes out. He has his old helmet on at first. He also has his singlet on backwards again because he didn't like to do laundry. It's a whole thing. Michael Buffer makes the introductions. Anderson starts out against Vader. They lock up and break, and I'm fixated on this whole laundry thing. I think Vader thought that if you wear your clothes backwards, somehow they don't smell. Or maybe if you wear it backwards, somehow you don't have to do laundry because you've worn it twice, but you've worn it a totally different way than you wore it the first time. So it all evens out at the end? Maybe. The crowd is behind Vader. Anderson hits him with a series of shots. Anderson backs off. They lock up again and Anderson is back on offense. Vader clotheslines Anderson out. Flair checks on Anderson. Anderson gets back in. Vader pounding on Anderson. Vader hits a short clothesline. Anderson comes back with a spine buster. Flair tagged in. He stomps Vader. Vader slams Flair several times. Flair goes up and over and gets clotheslined on the apron, so take a shot if you're drinking at home. Flair grabs a chair, but referee Randy Anderson takes it, allowing Arn Anderson to clip Vader's leg. Anderson tagged in and both men working on Vader. Anderson hits a DDT. Flair tagged back in. He gets the figure 4 on. Vader fighting it. Vader gets to the ropes. Flair goes up top, but gets caught and slammed off. Vader splashes Flair, but Anderson makes the save. Vader gets Flair down and splashes Flair. Anderson makes the save again. Anderson tagged in. Vader powerbombs and pins Anderson. Last hurrah for Vader in WCW as he would be fired after a backstage fight with Paul Orndorff in a few weeks. Flair up and yelling at Anderson. He starts to walk away and Anderson grabs him. They argue. Mean Gene is out and Hulk Hogan talks about what happened in the dungeon. He and Vader say they have the same problems. They call out the Dungeon of Doom as they sign off from Daytona Beach. Final thoughts. An interesting show. It sets up Fall Brawl, but WCW will look much different when we get there. You can follow me on Facebook, Threads, and Instagram at TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your preferred podcast app. I would really appreciate it. We can also be found on Spotify and YouTube. Just search for The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show and don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you for joining me. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.